It's now November. Fantastic is the season, though we get sporadic drizzling almost on every day. And that's good. Let the monsoon keep Kerala and the world richly vegetative. Welcome once again to News Analysis. News Analysis, a weekly magazine on current affairs. We will begin it with the main points. Jammu and Kashmir, India formally divides flashpoint state. Operation Kaila. Kaila Mullah, a US hostage killed in ISIS custody. The raid against Baghdadi was named for her. Pakistan train fire. Karachi to Rawalpindi service set ablaze. North Korea fires 2 ballistic missiles into Sea of Japan. Japan Shuri castle fire, blaze engulfs revered World Heritage Site. British general election, Corbyn challenges Johnson to TV debates as it happened. Veteran CPI leader Gurudas Dasgupta passes away. Now we will go to the stories in detail. Jammu and Kashmir, India formally divides flashpoint state. India has formally divided the state of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 new federally administered territories. In the new arrangement, Jammu and Kashmir is one territory and Ladakh, which borders China, is separate. The 2 union territories are now ruled directly from the capital, Delhi. It's part of a controversial move announced in August to tighten the Indian government's control over the part of Kashmir it administers. R.K. Mathur and Girish Chandra Murmu were sworn in as Lieutenant Governors of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir, respectively, on Thursday. Now the real participation of cooperative federalism will be seen. New highways, new railway lines, new schools, new hospitals will take the development of the people of Jammu and Kashmir to new heights. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said at a public rally in the western state of Gujarat. Union territories have far less autonomy from the federal government than states do. The former state has long been one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints and is a highly militarized area. India and Pakistan both claim Kashmir in full but control only parts of it. How does this affect the people there? Population will be in the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir comprising 2 regions and religions. The Muslim majority Kashmir Valley, which is about 8 million people, and the Hindu majority Jammu, which is about 6 million. The third region, the newly created Union Territory of Ladakh, is a high-altitude desert inhabited by 300,000 people with almost equal numbers of Muslims and Buddhists. What's the background? On 5th August, the government revoked Kashmir's special status, sparking protests in the Muslim-majority valley. Article 370, as a constitution provision guaranteeing special status was known, allowed the region a certain amount of autonomy, including special privileges in property ownership, education, and jobs. This provision had underpinned India's often fraught relationship with Kashmir. Operation Kaila. Kaila Mullah, a US hostage killed in ISIS custody. The raid against Baghdadi was named for her. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the elusive Islamic State commander, died during a US military operation in Syria. The militant chief had launched a self-proclaimed caliphate that inspired violence around the world. The dark and dangerous operation that claimed the life of Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was named after 26-year-old Kaila Mullah, an American who was kidnapped by the extremist group and killed in 2015. He was the founder and leader of ISIS, the most ruthless and violent terror organization in the world. The United States has been searching for Baghdadi for many years. Capturing or killing Baghdadi has been the top national security priority. U.S. Special Operations Forces executed a dangerous and daring nighttime raid into northwestern Syria to accomplish this mission. No U.S. personnel were lost in the operation, while a large number of Baghdadi's fighters and companions were killed with him. The compound had been cleared by this time, with people either surrendering or being shot and killed. 11 young children were moved out of the house uninjured. The only ones remaining were Baghdadi in the tunnel, who had dragged 3 children with him to certain death. He reached the end of the tunnel as our dogs chased him down. He ignited his vest, killing himself and the 3 children. His body was mutilated by the blast, but the test result gave certain and positive identification. The thug who tried so hard to intimidate others spent his last moments in utter fear, panic, and dread, terrified of American forces bearing down Islamic State defector inside Baghdadi's hideout, critical to success of the raid, officials say. U.S. commandos zeroed in on Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's final hideout with the help of an extraordinary well-placed informant, an Islamic State operative. He facilitated the terrorist leaders' movements around Syria and even helped oversee construction work on his Syrian safe house, according to U.S. and Middle East-based officials knowledgeable about the operation. A dog helped kill Baghdadi, joining a long history of canine war heroes. A photo of the dog, assigned to the Army's secretive Delta Force, was posted by President Trump, who said the dog did a great job. The dog's name is classified, Trump and the Pentagon said, though Newsweek reported its name is Conan.
Into my office, sir, we killed this leader at a low level, this leader at... I said, I never heard of him. I want al-Baghdadi. That's the only one I know now. I want al-Baghdadi. Get him. And they got him. He's dead. He's dead as a doornail.
Pakistan train fire. Karachi to Rawalpindi service set ablaze. At least 73 passengers have died after a train traveling between the Pakistani cities of Karachi and Rawalpindi caught fire. Minister for Railways Sheikh Rashid Ahmed said the fire was caused by explosion of a gas cylinder being used by passengers cooking breakfast. The blaze is thought to have spread to at least 3 carriages. According to officials cited in local media, many of the victims died as they tried to jump off the burning train. Another 40 people have been injured. Officials say the number of dead may still rise. The accident happened near the town of Rahim Yar Khan in the south of Punjab province. Many passengers were pilgrims heading to the Raiwind near Lahore for one of the Pakistani's largest annual religious congregations, organized by the Tablighi Jamaat Sunni Muslim Missionary Movement. The train was reportedly diverted to help those religious travelers. 2 cooking stoves blew up. They had cooking oil which added fuel to fire, Sheikh Rashid Ahmed said. Though it's common to carry food on board, gas cylinders are banned. Passengers bringing stoves onto trains in order to cook meals on long journeys is a common problem, the minister said. 3 carriages were set alight, officials said, with 54 people in the 11th carriage and 78 each in carriages 12 and 13. District Deputy Commissioner Jamil Ahmed said, some of the victims were so badly burned they could not be identified and they would need to use DNA tests to find out who had died. But reports from the scene suggest electrical problems could have been the cause. Several survivors have reportedly said they believed a short circuit on board may have been to blame. Prime Minister Imran Khan said he was deeply saddened by the terrible tragedy on Twitter, adding that he had ordered an immediate inquiry. North Korea fires 2 ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan. North Korea has fired 2 unidentified projectiles into the sea, the South Korean military says. According to Japan's defense ministry, the objects appeared to be ballistic missiles. If confirmed as a missile test, it would be the North's 12th such launch this year. Earlier this month, North Korea test-fired a new type of missile which is thought could also be launched from a submarine. That missile was in theory able to carry a nuclear weapon. Being launched from a submarine can make missiles harder to detect and allows them to get closer to other targets. Thursday's projectiles were fired into the EC, also known as Sea of Japan. The launches are thought to have come from South Pyongyang province, according to Seoul's Joint Chief of Staff. The projectiles landed outside Japan's maritime exclusive economic zone, the Japanese Coast Guard said. The South Korean military said it would maintain its readiness to track and monitor further launches. The launch coincided with the day of South Korean President Moon Jae-in attended the funeral of his mother, who died earlier this week. Japan's Shuri Castle fire blaze engulfs revered World Heritage Site. Fire spread quickly through the 600-year-old site dating back to Ryukyu Kingdom in Okinawa. A fire has swept through a historic castle on the southern Japanese island of Okinawa, destroying much of a structure that had come to symbolize the ancient Ryukyu Kingdom and the island's recovery from the Second World War. Flames engulfed Shuri Castle, a UNESCO World Heritage Site located in the island's capital Naha at around 2:40 a.m. local time, and quickly spread to other buildings in the complex, local police said. There were no initial reports of injuries, but nearby residents were evacuated while firefighters spent several hours attempting to bring the fire under control. The castle, a popular tourist spot, dates back to the days of the Ryukyu Kingdom, which began in 1429 and ended in the late 1800s when it was annexed by the government in Tokyo. The island is still home to a large number of US military bases. As headquarters of the Imperial Japanese Army, Shuri Castle was relentlessly shelled by US forces who occupied the island until it recovered to Japanese control in 1972, 2 decades after the rest of Japan regained full independence. The castle was extensively restored and reopened as a national park in 1992. British general election. Corbyn challenges Johnson to TV debates as it happened. Jeremy Corbyn has challenged Johnson to TV debates on what has effectively been the first full day of campaigning since MPs agreed that there should be an election on Thursday, 12th December. A lot of developments, including Prime Minister Grenfell's statement, PMQs and Amber Rudd saying she won't contest 12th December election, etc. is to come. Boris Johnson has said the government will fully accept the findings of a report on the failings in the Grenfell Tower disaster, promising survivors and relatives that the truth will out and justice will be done. Responding to the report by the inquiry chairman, Sir Martin Moore-Brick, on the causes of the blaze at the West London block in June 2017 that killed 72 people, the Prime Minister opened a Commons debate by promising a rapid official responses. The bill approving the election is still being debated by peers, but it's expected to clear the House of Lords without a hitch by the end of the day. Corbyn confirms he would allow second Scottish independence referendum, but not anytime soon that Jeremy Corbyn would submit the country to 2 referendums after the general election. This is how he put it at PMQ's, Johnson said. Corbyn also offers a political disaster concerning next year, which should be a wonderful year for our country, to 2 more referendums. Another referendum on the European Union because he cannot make up his mind what he thinks, flip-flopping this way and that. And another referendum on Scottish independence. Why on earth should the people of this country spend the next year, which should be a glorious year, going through the toxic, tedious terror of 2 more referendums thanks to the Labour Party? Labour is committed to renegotiating Brexit and holding another referendum. As Jeremy Corbyn's spokesman said in a briefing for journalists after PMQs, Labour would not agree to a Scottish independence election in 2020. Corbyn has confirmed that he would be willing to agree to a Scottish independence referendum at some stage later. The Scottish Labour Party used to be flatly opposed to a second independence referendum, but Corbyn challenged party policy on this during the summer.
Are ready for an election. We're going to go out there with a very strong message of how we transform our society to end inequality and injustice and deal with the devastating poverty that so many people face. We always said we wanted an election. We do want an election, but we wanted no deal to be taken off the table. We've now had confirmation from all 28 EU member states that no deal is off the table. So we're going to go out there with the biggest campaign this party has ever mounted, totally united, totally determined, and I'm absolutely looking forward to going every part of this country with my wonderful shadow cabinet team here and all the fantastic Labour activists to give a message.
Veteran CPI leader Gurudas Dasgupta passes away. Veteran CPI leader Gurudas Dasgupta passes away. He became a Rajya Sabha member as far back as 1985 and led the All India Trade Union Congress AITUC in 2001. Former Lok Sabha member and Communist Party of India CPI leader Gurudas Dasgupta passed away in Kolkata on Thursday morning. He was just 3 days short of his 83rd birthday on November 3rd. The late CPI leader was suffering from renal and cardiac problems. Comrade Gurudas Dasgupta was one of the finest parliamentarians and a true leader of the Indian working class. His death is not just a loss to the CPI but to the entire working class movement. D. Raja, CPI General Secretary, told in his condolence message. WhatsApp, Indians among those targeted by spyware. Messaging app WhatsApp has said Indian journalists and activists are among some 1,400 people worldwide who were targeted with Israeli-made spyware. WhatsApp filed a lawsuit against NSO Group on Wednesday, alleging it was behind cyber attacks that infected devices in April and May. The Israeli company, which makes software for surveillance, has strongly disputed the allegations. India has 400 million WhatsApp users, making the country its biggest market. Hackers were able to remotely install surveillance software on the phones and other devices by using a major vulnerability in the messaging app. And we will now move on to the alluring world of business. Vauxhall fears after car giants Fiat and PSA announce merger. Fiat Chrysler is to merge with Vauxhall on a PSA to create the world's 4th largest car company. The two sides say they have yet to finalize all the details, but the 50-50 merger is expected to provide significant cost savings. That has raised concern at Vauxhall, which employs 3,000 people in the UK, as it could be vulnerable to any restructuring. Union call for talks with France's PSA, which owns Peugeot and Citroën. Fiat Chrysler, the Italian-US business behind Jeep, Alfa Romeo and Maserati, has been looking for a big tie-up for years, believing that consolidation in the global industry is needed to cut costs and overcapacity and fund investment in electric vehicles. It has tried previously to confirm alliances with General Motors and Renault. A combined Fiat Chrysler PSA will have a market value of about $50 billion, with annual sales of 8.7 million vehicles. The company said there are no plans to shut factories, but UK unions are uneasy about the impact of Vauxhall. Merger talks combined with Brexit uncertainty is deeply unsettling for Vauxhall's UK workforce, which is one of the most efficient in Europe, said United Nations officer Des Quinn. We'll travel through the scintillating world of science. Origin of modern humans traced to Botswana. Scientists have pinpointed the homeland of all humans alive today to a region south of the Zambezi River. The area is now dominated by salt pans, but was once home to an enormous lake, which may have been our ancestral heartland 200,000 years ago. They began to move on as fertile green corridors opened up, paving the way for future migration out of Africa. It has been clear for some time that anatomically modern humans appeared in Africa roughly 200,000 years ago, said Professor Vanessa Hayes, a geneticist at the Caravan Institute of Medical Research in Australia. What has been long debated is exact location of this emergence and subsequent dispersal of our earliest ancestors. Professor Hayes' conclusions have drawn skepticism from other researchers in the field, however.
We used those 198 samples from a very diverse background, but we selected them simply of the ancient L0 group, and then we pre-screened them first, and then we used those samples for mitogenomic analysis. And that's where we found that around about 200,000 years ago, that's 200,000 before Christ, these lineages were evident in the homeland, the so-called homeland that we refer to in the nowadays Magirigiri bands in Botswana. And then they were living there and really prospering in their local community. And at about 130,000 years before Christ, these populations started moving.
Now jump into the arena of sports. Rugby World Cup final. England team unchanged for South Africa match. England head coach Eddie Jones says the team are ready to produce their finest hour after naming an unchanged team for Saturday's World Cup final against South Africa. Captain Owen Farrell, leading try scorer Johnny May and prop Kyle Sinclair have all been past fit after carrying knocks from the semi-final win over the All Blacks. Farrell stays as inside centre with George Ford once again picked at fly half, while scrum half-been Spencer is on the bench after flying out last weekend as emergency cover following an injury to Will Haynes.
The strength of your team at the World Cup is the strength of your squad, and I think we've shown that. Our players have been exceptional throughout the tournament. I can't congratulate them all for what they've done. I'm really proud of their efforts. I think the whole country's proud of the team, and we've got one more job to do. That's a big job, but a job we're well prepared for, and again we're going to that game with no fear.
Chennai to witness 12 hours of football. Boys under 14 participate in this football marathon and get a chance to be trained by coaches of German football club FC Schalke 04 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. this coming Monday. Across 10 venues in the city, children from over 100 schools will be doing just one thing, playing their best game of football. That's all for now, and before we close this bulletin of news analysis, let's have a recap of the headlines. Jammu and Kashmir, India formally divides flashpoint state. Operation Kaila. Kaila Mullah, a US hostage killed in ISIS custody. The raid against Baghdadi was named for her. Pakistan train fire. Karachi to Rawalpindi service set ablaze. North Korea fires 2 ballistic missiles into Sea of Japan. Japan Shuri Castle fire blaze engulfs revered World Heritage Site. British general election, Corbyn challenges Johnson to TV debates as it happened. Veteran CPI leader Gurudas Dasgupta passes away. And thank you for being with us during this bulletin of news analysis. Be with us in the coming weeks too. Thank you very much.